Roughly 4.6 billion years ago, there was a gravitational collapse in a large molecular cloud. From this, the Sun was created, along with smaller orbiting balls of rock and gas, known to us as the planets. When it was born, the Earth was just a ball of molten rock and lava. A short time after, a planetoid the size of Mars collided with Earth. Most of these asteroids and the Earth formed together to make a larger body. But the little bits of planetary debris from the collision came together and started orbiting the Earth to create the Moon. For the next 0.6 billion years, the Earth was pelted with meteorites. This brought many new elements to the Earth. The gases that these meteorites brought eventually created an atmosphere for the planet. At this time, the atmosphere was made out of carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia. But some of these meteorites, called carbonaceous chondrite, came from outside the protoplanetary frost line. They were able to bring to Earth the base of all living things, water. As this happens, the Earth turns to solid rock and stops its fiery form. Now we start to see mountains form, and from the asteroids that came from space, rain comes down and forms the oceans. After the tectonic plates shifted, we started to see the end of the Archaeobacteria, as they split into separately Archaea and Bacteria. Valbura, the first supercontinent, is formed, which means that the Earth is finally starting to slightly form from its desolate volcanic land. With new lands, we start to see prokaryotes starting to form, but they are only single-celled and don't have a nucleus. But they have bacteria and cyanobacteria. With the formation of prokaryotes, there is photosynthesis in this early age, but it's not the same photosynthesis that plants use nowadays to produce sugar. In this early process, cyanobacteria that formed stromatolites had performed the deed of taking sunlight and breaking up water and oxygen molecules. In this early stage of life, the atmosphere is mostly made of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. At this time, we see oxygens forming on Earth. These are the first oxygen-producing organisms. Then as soon as that happened, we get what is known as the oxygen catastrophe, where free oxygen becomes relevant in the Earth's atmosphere, which is why we can breathe today. Now that there is oxygen in the atmosphere, organisms start having aerobic respiration. This process involves cells breaking down food in the mitochondria with the energy of oxygen. Right after, Columbia, the next supercontinent, is formed. With this, we also get complex single-celled organisms, with carbon dioxide going in and oxygen going out. After that, we have a eukaryotic cell, which are cells that have a nucleus. And this is the first time a nucleus comes into Earth. While this is happening, there's a boom in bacteria and archaea, which starts to populate the Earth more and more. Here we see organisms that start having more cells, so they are no longer single-celled. Now we have another ice age, and during this ice age, 70% of the plant life in the sea starts to go extinct. The masses on land known as continents start to change into what we call Pannotia, then right after we get Laurasia. Once those two have formed, we finally get Rodinia. Now the Earth is getting close to its modern-day continents. With the formation of Rodinia, we start seeing a marine life in the sea, and we see the evolution to jellyfish and other organisms in the water. At this time, the Earth's climate starts to stabilize, making it a comfortable environment for the future organisms that will appear on Earth, as it is a much cooler environment from the previous ice age, since now we are in the cryogenian age. At this time, the Earth is once again being bombarded by meteors and start creating craters in the Earth. Now we start to see the first organism on land, the Trilobitomorpha. Then we arrive in the snowball Earth. After that, we have our first winged insects on land. Then we start to get reptiles, and soon after the reptiles, we find ourselves in the Jurassic Age. Then there are dinosaurs in the Jurassic Age. And then a huge, massive extinction follows thereafter and wipes out everything but the mammals, which includes the dinosaurs. Then we start to see Homo sapiens appear.
The end. I don't even know if we got it.